What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, yesterday we did have that Nintendo Direct that had some pretty good announcements, I thought, and for the most part, set up Nintendo for the second half of 2023 and a little bit of 2024, but we'll go over everything that was announced there line by line today. Also, we are going to be talking about Final Fantasy 16. It's out tomorrow, but reviews did go live yesterday, giving us an idea as to what critics thought about it, and we'll also be talking about some bad news for the Xbox platform as it appears Microsoft is raising prices and not just on the hardware. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with that Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1, as we did get information when it comes to the packaging for it, as well as the Switch physical copy. And well, we can see this posted up on Konami's website. Wario64 got a screen grab of it here. And yeah, we have like a whole almost chart of how this is going to work out for the physical copy, which, you know, is probably bad news right away, since they're just going to use a 4 gigabyte cartridge, from what I can tell, front loaded onto the cartridge, 2.4 gigabytes of data, which appears to basically be just enough to load the menu to where you will then have to download the rest. So 24.1 gigabytes would have to be downloaded, which includes Metal Gear Solid, the Master Collection version, Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, and then there's bonus content on top of that that includes just 1 gigabyte plus 30 more gigabytes for bonus videos. So even if they wanted to do a 32 gigabyte cartridge, you would still have, I guess, like another 30 some odd gigabytes to download of just these bonus videos that they would store on a server somewhere. And very unfortunate stuff, because there's not a huge reason then to buy the physical copy. I mean, I guess it's going to be accessible through the menu, so you're not tied to, say, a download code or a digital ownership to one account. You'll put the cartridge in, it'll then call the data. But it still would have been much nicer to have everything right there on a single cartridge. And it does make me figure, well, is it really worth buying that Switch physical copy at this point? Also, good news for Sonic fans, as we have another event coming up. This one, a Sonic Central, which we can see posted up by the Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter account, saying, surprise, Sonic Central returns this Friday on Sonic's birthday. Oh, that makes sense. June 23rd, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. They say tune in for a sneak peek of some of our upcoming projects, partnerships, and events happening in 2023. It's important to point out that this can be legitimately anything. It's not just going to be video games. There can be some stuff with other media like film or movies or who knows, comics. They say partnerships. You could see food or who knows. Seriously, it could be absolutely anything. We do know that the Sonic Origins collection is, I think, out that day. And then later on in the fall, Sonic Superstars, although we have been seeing a lot of that recently. So I'm wondering if this is going to be some new things that they're showing off here, and then just remind us that those two games are out. But I guess we'll find out tomorrow when it airs. Oh, and do you remember that Inspector Gadget game that we talked about before that even got to a point where a bunch of people on Xbox made sure that they got a port of this game by letting Microids know, we'll say, on Twitter that they really wanted this Inspector Gadget game on the platform. We have a release date now, and this was posted up by Nintendo Everything with some screenshots, as from what I could tell, we still don't have an official trailer with gameplay for this title, but it is coming out September 29th. This is Inspector Gadget Mad Time Party. This, I guess, would be described as like a AA game. But they do have key features listed here. We can remind you with those once again. Explore Metro City. You complete quests and challenges in adventure mode. 16 entertaining mini games to play. You can have fun with family and friends in multiplayer mode. So again, I don't know if this is going to be an amazing game or anything, but there you go. If we haven't really had a lot of Inspector Gadget games at all, really, since the Super Nintendo, maybe the PS1, I think. So if you were someone hoping to get another Inspector Gadget game, look towards this one at the end of September. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with that general Nintendo Direct that happened yesterday. I posted up a quick reaction to some of the big announcements there, basically once the Direct ended. I've had time to really go through everything that was announced here and kind of get my thoughts together, and we'll be going through that line by line, starting at the top with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. A look at the DLC. Remember, this is in two different parts. We have the teal mask that's launching fall 2023 and the indigo disc that's winter 2023. And we would see Pokemon again in this presentation. It's interesting since Pokemon, typically these announcements are set up for a Pokemon Presents, but now people are wondering, oh, I guess maybe there isn't a Pokemon Presents coming up here soon. They just sort of put a couple of announcements in here, and maybe they'll talk more towards the end of the year to showcase some of these pieces of downloadable content a bit more. Sonic Superstars was then shown, 12 new zones, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, local co-op, up to 4 players. Still just with that placeholder fall 2023 release. Then we had Palia. It's a free-to-play adventure sim, farming online game you play with friends or completely single player. Holiday 2023, Persona 5 Tactica popped up. You can use a lot of different Persona elements that are there in battle. You have one more all out. They have the fusion system there for your Personas. November 17th, 2023. Important to note that Persona 3 Reload did not make an appearance here, so I guess as of now, Atlas is skipping the Switch for that game, which is, we'll say interesting. Myth Force. This is a first-person roguelite that has, I would say visuals similar to what you'd expect out of a Saturday morning cartoon. It's also from Aspire, which they've been having a rough go with things recently. Drop-in, drop-out online co-op, that's coming 2023. Splatoon 3 Splatfest, Vanilla versus Strawberry versus Mint Chip. That kicks off July 14th. Don't even really know why we're having this. The obvious answer is Strawberry. Detective Pikachu returns October 6th, 2023. And we had a big announcement with Super Mario RPG getting a full-on remake, and the art style, the visuals, look awesome. This is a game where they clearly didn't want to stray too far from the path that was set by that original, and a lot of people, well, many people, I'll say, were really hoping to hear about something like this. This is really, really cool to see, and I'm excited for it. I thought the trailer was good. I like the transition in the beginning from Peach with that 16-bit era style to the newer style, and it being a one-to-one remake. Exciting stuff. November 17th. So we're getting these announcements fairly close to release now, again, setting up that holiday season. And then Nintendo dropped 2 quick announcements, one being a new Princess Peach game that's in development where it looks like she transforms on certain pads that are on the ground, and that's coming 2024. And then Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, that's now in development for the Switch. That, of course, released on the 3DS, and I guess they're just kind of porting it over, 2024. Batman the Arkham Trilogy, Asylum, City, and Night, all DLC, fall 2023. This is pretty cool because, well, I think Night will be the one that a lot of people are going to be checking out to see how it runs. Asylum and City shouldn't have really any issue running on the Switch. They both played fine on the 360 when they came out, so Night had a bit of a rough launch, we'll say, and that'd be fun to see how that goes. Gloomhaven, September 18th. We have Just Dance 2024, October 24th. Silent Hope, it's an action RPG. You explore the abyss while you defeat enemies. You build up your base to dive deeper into the abyss, rinse and repeat. October 3rd, 2023. Fae Farm, it's a farming game. Good thing. Thought we were going to miss some of those. September 8th, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2. That's October 19th. Manic Mechanics, July 13th. Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. It's the second DLC that they showed off. Out now. There's also a demo if you've been curious about this title. Dragon Quest Monsters The Dark Prince. I remember playing Dragon Quest Monsters, I feel like on the DS. That was a while ago. But it's basically the Dragon Quest take on Pokemon. That's out December 1st. Pikmin 4 then had a pretty good deep dive on the overall mechanics. You have Ochi, it can help carry stuff. You float in the water, you can fight enemies, destroy different obstacles. There's an entire underground area, which is funny coming off of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom with its depths and all that. A split screen mode was shown off. You can upgrade items as well as Ochi's skills. There's nighttime exploration for the first time in the franchise. The enemies, of course, do become harder. And there will be a demo available next week, June 28th. Of course, this game is out next month, July 21st. Pikmin 1 and 2 are also getting remasters. They're out now digitally, and a physical copy is coming later on September 22nd, kind of pulling the same thing they did with Metroid Prime Remastered. You can kind of wait for that physical copy or just pick up Pikmin 1 and 2 now digitally, and you can also buy them separately. Then they did talk about the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection. This is Volume 1. We already went over the physical copy and the frustrations there, but Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, then Metal Gear Solid Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 from the MSX and the NES versions will be included. There's graphical novels, strategy guides for each game, this releasing October 24th. So despite the disappointment for the physical copy on the Switch, it's still exciting stuff to have all these Metal Gear and Metal Gear Solid games released in one place. I also want to point out Volume 1. Makes me wonder what they would have headline Volume 2. I mean, hey, if they get Metal Gear Solid 4, actually move it over into a collection as a headline, I'm buying it day one. So come on, Konami, you can do it. Vampire Survivors is a pretty good get for Nintendo to have on the Switch. It's a very, very popular game, especially on Steam. 4-player local co-op here, August 17th. Headbangers Rhythm Royale, certainly a unique title. October 31st, Penny's Big Breakdown. This is a 3D platformer from the team behind Sonic Mania. So once I heard that, I was like, I'll give it a look. Early 2024. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Wave 5 DLC includes a new course, Squeaky Clean Sprint. And then we have different characters, which includes Petey Piranha, Wiggler, Comic. So they're all being added in. That's summer 2023. Star Ocean, the Second Story R Remake. This game looks awesome. I like the visual style quite a bit. This was the time between the 16-bit, 32-bit era. Really, 3D visuals were very rough looking and have not aged well. There was something a little different back then, and they've continued that here, where the backgrounds are more realistic 3D looking, but the sprites are still kind of that 2D, 3D look. I really like them. So the sprites, HD 2D backgrounds, just full 3D, really cool stuff there with that. And it looks like the battles are a bit more fluid with that action sort of combat. November 2nd, really, really good stuff. I will be picking that up as it is considered by many as the best Star Ocean game in the franchise. Then we had a look at WarioWare Move It. So we now have technically, I guess, two WarioWare games on the Switch. That's November 3rd. They also did a shout out for Nintendo Live 2023 and then talked about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Bit of a swerve here, as I'm sure many people thought we were going to DLC for this. No, just a couple of amiibo that were data mined previously, that of course being Zelda and Ganondorf, holiday 2023. And then we went into the big closeout, which is Super Mario Bros. Wonder. That's right, that 2D Mario game is now set up for the holiday. This is coming out October 20th. And as soon as they showed it, I think a lot of people turned their head sideways a bit at that art style. Still has kind of that new Super Mario Bros. Look to it, but it's, I don't know, it's a bit different looking. It also still kind of reminds me of Mario Brothers 3, where it looks like it's sort of taking place on a stage as you cast that shadow, that hard shadow on the background. You have rail grinding with Mario going across rails, jumping up, grabbing with it with his hands as well. Wonder Flowers seem to do random things in the world. So the art style was already interesting enough. Then it just gets like downright crazy when things just start going all over the place, with Mario stretching out his abdomen and enemies doing the same thing and colors popping all over the place. It seems like the objective in these different levels is collecting Wonder Seeds. You can also do 4-player co-op. They showed Toad, Daisy, Peach all being playable. Yoshi was in there as well as what seemed to be a mount, but it still looks like traditional 2D Mario. So it's again, pretty cool to have another 2D Mario game. They really don't get old, I would say, for the vast majority of people, certainly not the mainstream. And hey, Mario could turn into an elephant. And overall, looking back at this presentation from Nintendo, it's about what I would have expected. It was a lot of Mario stuff, for at least from that franchise, so it felt very much Nintendo, the entire Direct. And it makes sense why that would be the case. I mean, it's almost like they had a movie recently that gained over $1 billion in revenue, and it's still rolling along with the Blu-ray out there selling constantly. Yeah. Obviously, Nintendo wanted to capitalize that to some degree, so we have like another year of just a lot of Mario stuff dropping. But it looks good. Having a remake for Super Mario RPG, most people can look at that and say, okay, that's really, really cool stuff. And then the 2D Mario game plays into the idea of the mainstream that may have seen the Mario movie, kind of got reinvigorated on the idea of playing a Mario game. And a 2D Mario game would be easier, technically, to get into than a 3D Mario game where there's a lot more going on. But overall, I thought it was a good presentation. I'd probably put it somewhere around a B+. plus. I think if it did have that really big closeout like a Metroid Prime 4, it'd be hard to argue with an A for this one, but for the most part, that was pretty good. Next up, let's talk about Final Fantasy 16. It is out tomorrow, and I'm very excited for this game, mostly because I played the demo. It was like an hour and a half or so, but I think it really set things up nicely, and yeah, that cliffhanger at the end of the demo makes me want to jump right into the full game. But we do have reviews that are now live, and we can see this posted up over on Metacritic, currently sitting at an 88. I think it started at like an 89 or a 90, and it's kind of worked its way down a couple of points, but this is now on 100 critic reviews, just on the PS5 here, of course, not out on PC or anything yet. But if we look at the split, 93 positive, 7 mixed. There are perfect scores in there, like at the top, Digital Chumps, PSX Brazil. And I think that one of the lowest scores I saw was from Digital Trends, sitting at a 60. And after going through a bunch of these reviews, a lot of the scores really hinged on if the person enjoyed the story, because many seem to agree that, yeah, the combat is good. It is action, of course. Now the turn-based stuff is out the window, but that's kind of how it goes currently in today's climate with how the audience has continued to evolve around RPGs. I mean, the action-based stuff just sells better, really, so it makes sense why they would continue to evolve to this point. Visually speaking, it looks really, really good in some places. Other places, you can tell they had to kind of cut some corners there, and it's not on the level of some of the cutscenes or pre-render stuff, anything like that. But for the most part, it seems like it's another Final Fantasy game that is living up to that high bar of quality, and coming off of Final Fantasy 15, I mean, technically, it's trending upwards. Now, I will say from the technical side of things, it's kind of disappointing with the frame rate, as Digital Foundry released their video on it, and I'm not really sure what the point of the performance mode is now, because it just seems like they put it in there towards the end of development because people were calling for it, or they were seeing that frame rate was becoming a big topic online and with many gamers, so they unlocked the frame rate, I guess, and when you're there, Clive is running around, it seems like it's in the mid to low 30s with a performance mode that's targeting 60 frames per second. So you can kind of tell how that would feel very, very jarring. But then in combat, it actually seems to hit 60 quite often. It's weird. Usually you figure it'd be the opposite. When a lot of stuff's happening, the frame rate dips. Instead, it's like, oh, you're wandering around the field, frame rate starts to drop. All these crazy abilities are popping. Now we're good. We're sitting at 60. But I'm excited for the game to come out. I'm going to pick it up as soon as it releases, and unfortunately not be able to play it until I'm back from too many games, probably on Monday. But as soon as I get back, I'm going to be jumping into Final Fantasy 16 and checking it out. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about some unfortunate news for Xbox, as Microsoft is moving to raise prices on the hardware and subscription side of things. Yeah, this one surprised me a little bit. Not necessarily that it's happening, but more so, I guess, the timing and sort of the speed of it happening. Let's take a look here. This is posted up by VGC. They say from July 6th, the monthly price of an Xbox Game Pass subscription for console will increase from $9.99 to $10.99. Okay, so it's going up $1. And then for Game Pass Ultimate, the price will raise from $14.99 to $16.99, going up $2. PC Game Pass pricing, though, will not be changing. Now, you can look at that and say, okay, well, the Xbox has more games in that console library for Game Pass, but still the PC side not getting that price increase does kind of make you scratch your head a little bit with Microsoft and how they're treating or even viewing the console owners. I mean, the people buying their box and being completely invested in that closed off ecosystem. Now, VGC did get a response from Carrie Perez, who's Microsoft's head of gaming communications, saying we've held on our prices for consoles for many years and have adjusted the prices to reflect the competitive conditions in each market. Now, they are referring, of course, to the console itself, as we can see from Tom Warren, who posts up a nice little comparison here. The Xbox Series X is going up in price in many regions around the world. The Xbox Series S is staying at its current price, so no movement there, but like you can look up and down the price changes. We're up to 10% in some regions and 6, 8. I mean, it's not a little jump for the console, and that part's not as surprising because technically it's mirroring what Sony had to do last year or just earlier with the PlayStation 5. The subscription side with Game Pass is the one that's a little head scratching when they're in this the customer acquisition phase where they're trying to bring in as many people as possible, but they are coming up on the release of Starfield and I guess closing the Activision deal. I don't know, even that feels like it's up in the air right now. If that does close, that's when people figured, okay, they'll probably move to raise the price of Game Pass down the line, maybe a year or so, make sure they're clear of that thing completely. No, technically, they're not incorrect when they say they're not going to raise the price after the deal goes through, because they're raising it before. But either way, it's not a great look coming off of Redfall, and the fact that we're still trying to see if they're going to be able to deliver on some of these big titles like a Starfield, it's just odd timing, I would say, to raise the subscription price. But on the console side, isn't it weird that we're just kind of like, oh yeah, consoles are going up in price. Yeah, well, what can you do? It's like, wow, we're back in the day, it used to be like, okay, the prices start to go down now, almost 3 years into the generation, but the Switch technically never fell in price. They actually figured out a way to use an OLED screen and raise the price. At least they did it by giving some sort of improvement, whereas Sony and Microsoft like, nope, prices are just going up. It's certainly a weird world we're living in right now. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I say, give the Nintendo Direct a grade. All right, let's see. 48% say B, that's about right. 27% said A, 17% said C, and then 4% said DNF. That's probably the lowest I've seen for a DNF for an event ever. But a B, 48%. Yeah, like I think if it closed out with something really big, like a Metroid Prime 4, I feel like A would have won out here. But the fact that the vast majority of people voted for B and up show that, yeah, I think it was overall a really good Direct. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Azul, who says, Final Fantasy VI could absolutely use a remake, but I worry it wouldn't be done well. If they go the Final Fantasy VII remake route and make a new game with story bits from the original, it might work, but 6 and 7 have vastly different presentation and narrative flow, and Square needs to tread carefully. You're absolutely right with this. If they go for it with Final Fantasy VI being remade, they really need to go all in and not like half step or be like, oh, we have this much ready for a budget, we'll cut back if we have to. No, you have to really take a swing for Final Fantasy VI. But some of the comments coming out of Square Enix, at least the way it's been described there, does make me hopeful that if they do decide to try it, they'll really, really go for it. So here's hoping, because I think it'd be really cool to see them take a genuine shot at remaking Final Fantasy VI at some point. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Was the Nintendo Direct? What'd you think of it? What were your favorite announcements at the show? And then also, what about Final Fantasy 16 with reviews now live? Are you picking it up tomorrow? And then Microsoft raising the price of not only the Xbox Series, but also Game Pass itself. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.